Uh, this ain't gonna be good. Hello, welcome to another episode of The Abandoned Cockpit. I am Bjorn, and today we'll be talking about reality and the perception of reality, specifically on sight, vision, and colors. Sorry if there's a low hum. I've got a space heater down here in the basement with me. It kind of smells like it might catch on fire at any moment. I don't know if it just has a buildup of dog hair, cat fur uh, in the little heating coil. But yeah, if you see me get up and run away very quickly, I might be on my way to grabbing a fire extinguisher. But at least I'm warm. Basically, shit. Knocked over my pot. This is a little pot that I made in third grade. So somehow it's survived in this little misshapen form for 25 years. So, but I knocked the lid over just a moment ago. So, anyways, right about that time, maybe third grade, I distinctly remember being in my dad's car. And I don't know why I was in there because we weren't driving anywhere. Nobody else was in there. I was just sitting in the car, and it was like an emerald green kind of. I think that's the right description. Not thinking of a different color. Well, not emerald. I don't know. Maybe more like a forest green. It matters because I remember looking at the upholstery and closing one eye. And then I swear that if I looked at it with the other eye, that like the color would change just ever so slightly. Kind of like if you want to know what your dominant eye is, they say you hold out your hand and you pick something to look at, and then when you close one eye, whichever eye it is that you close and it doesn't, the image does not jump, that's your dominant eye. So I don't know if that's a real thing or if I was just a kid being stupid as far as the color changing. But I do remember thinking, as far as colors go, what if everybody sees colors differently? Because like pink is a feminine color, not to gender norm or piss anybody off with that, but uh I also remember as a child walking through Kmart going to the toy section, and there's 6 aisles of toys, and 2 of them were just off limits because you look down those aisles and it's pink the whole way down, the whole way up, the whole way down. Every box, every package was hot pink. And you just knew that that's where the girls' toys were. So, you went to the next aisle and it was not so monochromatic. I don't know, kind of interesting, but
Is it, though? What's your point?
yes, I wondered as a child if everybody saw colors the same way, which I guess thinking about it now, we do not, because people are colorblind or color deficient, color confused. That's the word that they use. Whether it's, what is it, green, red, or blue and purple. I know most colorblind people aren't black and white. Like it's more just colors that kind of look the same a little bit, or they don't show up as well. So, anyways, that makes me uh think that you know as far as reality goes, we're all experiencing our own unique experience. Let me rephrase that. We're all living in our own unique experience when it comes to reality and the way we perceive it, not just colors but kind of everything. So to think of how other people may see colors, it's also, I guess, healthy to think of how other people perceive situations. Or we don't we don't know everything, and we don't know absolute truth. A lot of times, anyways, there's a lot of gray area in the world and in our lives. So, I just before this heard a story that I think I've heard before, but hadn't heard for a while. It's like a, I don't know, not a parable, but like, uh, it talks about how in India or wherever, we'll say it's in India. Yes, India, there are 5 blind men, and they are taken to an elephant, and they are told to describe the elephant. So of course they have to do it through feel, you know. So the one blind man they put up against the the side of the elephant, and he touches the elephant, and he says, "Well, an elephant is very much like a wall." And the other blind man they take over by a leg, and the guy feels the leg up and down, and he thinks, "Well, an elephant is much like a pillar." And somebody else is touching the tail. "Oh, the elephant, it's much like a rope." And the ivory tusks, well, it's, you know, well, they all perceive the elephant differently because they're all experiencing a piece of the puzzle that is the elephant. And then, of course, after that, they have a man come in to explain to them what an elephant definitely is, and gives the absolute definition of an elephant. And it figuratively opens the eyes of these blind men and gives them the full picture. Of course, the man that describes it to them is deaf, so he can't hear the elephant. Oh God, no! I'm going to cover that up with an actual elephant sound, because
That was the absolute worst. You shouldn't have even tried that.
What is wrong with you?
for one thing, I'm trying to be quiet so I don't wake anybody upstairs. But that was a terrible elephant call. Anyways, the deaf guy can't hear that. I can't even hear it. But so his experience and perception of an elephant is skewed as well. Moving past. The whole reason I was doing this podcast is because magenta doesn't actually exist.
What the hell does that even mean?
Oh, bullshit. That sounds like bullshit.
And I guess before we go, I think it has to do with the way our eyes perceive color. And I'm sure all of you have seen the controversial pictures of like the dress, or I think there was some shoes maybe. I'm not sure what the newer one was, but where everybody, oh, it's a black and a blue dress, or it's a white and a gold dress, and everybody fought over it on the internet. And yeah, it was really weird because I did see it the one way, the black and blue way. And then moments later, I saw the same exact picture on my phone, and it was white and gold. And at first, I thought that like it was a video or a graphic where it changed, but it was just my eyes, and I could not, for the life of me, I couldn't get it to go back the other way. I couldn't see it the way that I had seen it the first time. And I think it has to do with the cones and the rods in your eye, the way that some people see it compared to the way that other people see it. It's kind of an interesting thing, but kind of annoying and stupid too. So magenta doesn't actually exist because it has no wavelength. There is no place for it on the spectrum. It is just psychologically perceived by us as the mixture of red and violet blue light with the absence of green. The only reason we see it is because our brain doesn't like having green between purple and red, so it imagines a new color.
Bjorn, no one is buying this. And why are you out of breath?
It says this is magenta and not pink. Unlike pink, magenta doesn't actually exist. Our brain just invents magenta to serve as what it considers a logical bridge between red and violet, which each exist at opposite ends of a linear spectrum. Violet and red, the two components of magenta, are at opposite ends of the visible spectrum and have very different wavelengths. The additive secondary color magenta, as noted above, is made by combining violet and red light at equal intensity, and it is not present in the spectrum itself. How is this making sense? the human eye only has 3 types of color-sensitive cones, which detect red, blue, and green light. Your brain is making up every other color you perceive. Let's have a little fun with that thought. This is the visible spectrum of light. You will, of course, note that yellow is on the chart. Yellow has a discrete wavelength, and it is therefore a distinct physical color, but we can't see it. What we call yellow is just what our brain shrugs and spits out when our red and green cones are equally stimulated. We have light receptors that can pick up on the physical spectrum of light we call yellow. That's why yellow things don't just look like moving black blocks to us, but your brain has no fucking idea what the color yellow looks like. Some animals have eyes that can perceive the color yellow. Goldfish have a yellow cone in their eyes. If they could talk, they could tell us what yellow looks like, but we wouldn't be able to understand it. So we can measure the wavelength of light, so we know that when we see yellow, we are seeing light in that 550-ish nanometers range. But we don't have a cone in our eye that can pick that up. Your brain has a very consistent guess about what color that wavelength of light could be. We decided to name that guess yellow. We can't imagine what yellow really looks like any more than a dog can imagine the color red. So how does magenta factor into this? Well, we've just established when your brain sees light from 2 different slices of the visible light spectrum, it will just try to average them together. Green plus red is yellow. If it's more red than green, we'll call that orange. So your brain goes, whoops, okay, this is fine. We already made up yellow, orange, cyan, and violet. We'll just make up another color, something that looks really, really different from green. And so it made up magenta. So physics-wise, is magenta real? No, there's no single wavelength of light that corresponds to magenta, but you're rarely seeing only a single wavelength of light anyway. And even when you are, every color other than RGB is a dart thrown on the wall by your meat computer. Given that color is just a fun trick your brain is playing on you to help you find food and avoid danger, is magenta real? Yeah, absolutely. Or at least it's just as real as most of what we see. It's what we see when we mix up blue and red. It would be disastrous from a survival standpoint to perceive that color as green, so we don't. So one of the forbidden colors is Stygian blue. Chimerical colors include Stygian colors, and these are simultaneously dark and impossibly saturated. For example, to see Stygian blue staring at a bright yellow causes a dark blue afterimage. Then on looking at black, the blue is seen as blue against the black, but also as dark as the black. Okay. It makes me think of the Lincoln Town Car that was in my family for several years. To this day, I don't know if it was blue or black because I always thought it was black, but the harder you looked at it, suddenly in the light, it looked dark blue. Stunning colors that you can't see. Try to imagine reddish green, not the dull brown you get when you mix the 2 pigments together, but rather a color that is somewhat like red and somewhat like green. Or instead, try to picture a yellowish blue. Not green, but a hue similar to both yellow and blue. Is your mind drawing a blank? That's because even though those colors exist, you've probably never seen them. Red, green, and yellow, blue are some of the so-called forbidden colors, composed of pairs of hues whose light frequencies automatically cancel each other out in the human eye. They're supposed to be impossible to see simultaneously. The color revolution started in 1983 when a startling paper by Hewitt Crane, a leading visual scientist, and his colleague Thomas Piantanida appeared in the journal Science, titled On Seeing Reddish Green and Yellowish Blue. It argued that forbidden colors can be perceived. The researchers had created images in which red and green strips, and in separate images, blue and yellow strips, ran adjacent to each other. They showed the images to dozens of volunteers using an eye tracker to hold the images fixed relative to the viewer's eyes. This ensured that light from each color strip always entered the same retinal cells. For example, some cells always received yellow light, while others simultaneously received only blue light. So the observers of this unusual visual stimulus reported seeing the borders between the stripes gradually disappear, and the colors seemed to flood into each other. Amazingly, the image seemed to override their eyes' opponency mechanism, and they said they perceived colors they'd never seen before. That's freaking wacky.
Well, I feel like I've learned a lot. That was the best episode ever.
It really wasn't, but I think we all appreciate your effort, given the existing budget.
Thanks for hanging out. I just needed to get through that because when I read Magenta Isn't Real, I was like, that's stupid. So now we're all dumber because of it. Cheers. I gotta down this bang and go to sleep. It's almost 1 a.m. Until next time, friends. See ya.